Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Januszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing well. It's winter in New England, so we've had ice storms, 60-degree weather, all within a few days of each other. So
No, tomorrow is March 1st, so it's really, really good. And still looking at I call it sneet, because basically it's a combination of the snow and sleet that's sitting out there, impossible to penetrate, tough to shovel, but it's still there like in a clump, which is really, really cool. So I call it sneet, snow and sleet.
there
But
you go. And
the
yeah,
days.
it's been an interesting season so far. But actually, we've gotten a lot less snow than they have in elsewhere around the country. So we're thankful for that.
Absolutely.
Amen. Amen.
So our guest today is Karen LaFleur. Karen works with special needs children and then she helps adults fix their credit. So, Karen, welcome.
Well, thank you, Eric. It's a pleasure to be on here with you and Chip. This is my first time, so I'm super excited. Um,
We're
I love
glad
it.
to have you.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Karen LaFleur, like you said, and I have been working in the education field for 18 and a half years. I work as a special education para in the town of East Hartford. And there are days where I do love it. And then there's days that are pretty stressful. But all in all, I truly enjoy it. I guess you could say it's almost like a calling. So I have a son who has a mild form of autism, and he's a high functioning adult now, and he's a very responsible young man, and he drives. So I'm super proud of him, and he's accomplished so much in his life, in his very short life.
So, you got into this because of your experience with your son.
Yeah. So I figured if I can, I had some experience with having, raising someone with autism. It's never easy, and there's always challenges no matter what. And I figured I could work with this in the school system, be home with the kids, on vacations and stuff like that. So it worked out pretty well. And it's been a great ride, a very great ride. But I can't believe it's been 18 and a half years. Oh my God. I feel so old. So
So,
Well,
what's the biggest challenge you've had working with the kids?
it's a lot of it is behaviors, and it's very challenging because they're stressed. They're not getting they're trying to communicate how they're feeling and what they want, but it's very hard for them to actually communicate correctly so they can get their needs met, and it's very, very hard. It's a lot of repetitive and a lot of consistency, and everybody in the whole room that work together, we're trying to work on using the same rules, and trying to educate the students in the same, we back each other up. If one says no, then everybody else says no. So we try to keep it, it's a great room, work with great people. And we all kind of, we just work very well. We congeal, I guess you can say.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
I've spoken with a number of groups that work with autistic kids, and there seems to be a split among the community. So I'm going to ask you which way do you tend to approach this? Do you teach them to communicate the way most people communicate, or do you learn to communicate the way they're communicating?
It's actually, we try to do both. I try to understand what they're trying to tell me, or we try to understand what they're trying to say. We have communicating. We have ways of communicating with the kids with pictures. So the kids use pictures telling them how they feel or what they want. So it gives them, so we have incentive boards for them. We have incentives for them to actually, because a lot of times the behaviors that escalate is usually out of frustration because they're not getting their needs met. They want everything all now. So a lot of times we're trying to teach them patience. So it's a combination of both. We're trying to teach them, trying to prepare them for society, but it's very hard to prepare for society because it changes. And it's very, they don't understand that it's not all about them. It's not, there are other people in the world. And so, yeah, that's what I
know a lot of people like that don't have autism. So, yeah.
I know, but it's worse. Again, it's worse with the children that have that. So it's more of a social, a lot of social problems that they have, and they don't understand body language. Very hard for them. But you know, they learn, and they're capable of learning. I mean, they've learned these behaviors all on their own, how to get out of doing things, how to get what they want. They've learned those kind of behaviors. They've almost like, it's like self-taught. And so it's kind of going back and trying to restructure and get them to properly communicate with us, so we can actually, so they can get their needs met emotionally and also academically.
So what do you work with all age groups in the school, or I mean, do you have like students from when they start to when they graduate and that kind of thing? It's an ongoing process.
Well, I'm right now, I mainly work, I've worked with different age groups. So I mainly work now with kindergarten up to second grade, but I have worked from third grade up to fifth grade. So I worked in an elementary school, and that's the highest grade that they have there.
Excellent.
So I worked with both classes. So now I am permanently in the room, kindergarten through second.
All right. So switching hats a little bit, how do you go from that to helping people fix their credit?
I seem to be picking careers, I guess you could say, in the field of helping people. And I figured, why not? Because there's so many, I love to help people to see if I can somehow change someone's life, and that not only in the classroom, but also outside the classroom with the credit repair. And it has changed my life immensely, because I started using the services myself. And I've seen such an amazing increase in my credit score. I didn't realize how bad my credit score, I won't mention what it was, but it's just that years ago, I let it go. And I had a second husband who didn't really believe in credit. He thought it was not even important. So he didn't want to put anything in his name. So all the things was all put in my name. And then it got to the point where he got very sick and he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So he wasn't working for years. So I was the main sole income earner. And so there were times you had to pick and choose which you're going to pay. And so financially, it was a struggle. But, and that's where, I think that's where my credit basically started to tank, because my credit was kind of decent. But then it fluctuates. That's one thing about credit. Those credit scores, it fluctuates. It goes up and down, up and down. It depends on, making sure that you take care of it. But I wanted to help people, and I felt if it's helped me, I wanted to go out and see if I can help as many people as I can. So.
And that's actually a very common story where somebody, has a health scare, and the bills pile up, and that hits their credit. In many cases, people have to declare bankruptcy because of the cost of the health care. So it is good to, be paying attention to all of that.
Yeah. I truly believe, and I didn't side with him. I thought credit was very important. And the time that when I was married to him and needed a car, we couldn't get one because there was no way. And so you had to settle for either borrowing a car or settling for something that's a lot less, less expensive and not as reliable as a new car. So go ahead. You were going to say.
Well, you mentioned having trouble getting a car.
Yeah.
And for most people, they understand the credit affects getting a credit card, getting a car loan or a mortgage, but you're involved in building credit. What does credit affect that people don't necessarily realize?
You wouldn't believe what bad credit could do. So when you go to look for insurance, whether it's either health insurance or if it's auto insurance, life insurance, those kind of things, it does affect that too. It also affects, believe it or not, your electric bill. So, and also, they don't do it anymore as much as they used to, but there's a lot of employers that do check your credit. And if they see that you have a very bad credit, I guess they look at you as untrustworthy or, which I don't find is fair because it's not right. I mean, people kind of had bad things happen to them. And so there are many things that it affects. So
you said you don't think that's fair, and I happen to agree with you. But over the last several years, a number of state legislatures have taken steps to actually prevent employers from checking your credit.
Right, exactly. Thank goodness for the federal credit, fair credit, the act that was implemented. Thank God they passed that. So thank God we have some protections. The government passed some laws about that, but a lot of people don't realize that. And I was one who was not. Thank God, ever since I started doing the credit repair, I've become financially literate in a lot of areas where I wasn't before. So that's what this company does, and the company that I partnered with. And so we kind of educate everybody on their finances and how credit works.
Yeah, so it all starts with the financial literacy part.
Yes.
Where they understand all the different components, because you just mentioned a couple that people wouldn't even think about. And then obviously what you do is, I'm sure you have services, education services to help coach them through things, plans to offer them where they can, improve on this or improve on that.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. We've got budgeting tools. We've got a savings tool. So it tells you put in the amount of money that you need to save, whether 5,000 or 10,000. It tells you how much to save and how long it's going to take you to save it. And it gives you a budgeting, how to budget your monthly bills, and tells you if you're in the red or the black, and it explains why you're in that situation. But it also, with the other services that they provide too, is credit monitoring. So your credit score, you monitor your credit scores and why it's either going up or it's not. Identity monitoring too. And there's so many people that have suffered from people stealing their identities, and it seems to happen a lot more often. But thank goodness for stuff like that helps protect people. And that's one of many services that we have. But
yeah, that's actually something that is very important, especially right now. At the time that we're recording this, we're about 4 days into the Russian attack on Ukraine, and part of this has been a massive amount of cyber attacks. And those attacks have happened here in the US, so you do need to pay attention to your passwords, your identity, your social security number, and make sure it's all secure.
You have to. And that's scary.